Nice kind of sweet, makes your jaw muscles tighten up a little bit. Got that little bitter, sweet flavor to it. It's amazing though. My little guy, Amos, he's like 1.5 years old, first winter. Loved it. Would eat this stuff nonstop, barely give me any. Hogged it all. So we're out here real quick. We're going to be talking about Passionflower. I want to talk specifically about Passionflower potential for helping people overcome opioid addictions. So what the researchers did was they figured out, well, what are some alternatives? What are some things we can utilize to help people overcome those mental symptoms? Because sometimes even the mental symptoms are probably some of the things that drive people back into the use of opioid drugs. You've got to help people in all ways. And insomnia can be devastating to somebody's life, whether it comes from opioids or if it comes from other reasons or other causes. So, they knew that Passionflower was effective against anxiety and insomnia. It's been used in traditional medicine for generations for that purpose, but they wanted to find out what's it do for people suffering with withdrawal symptoms from opioids. So behind me, you can see a fence that I actually was protecting a persimmons tree for my deer in the future. I just don't want my deer to be eating it right now. Deer love persimmons. But here we have the Passionflower all over this vine. I tilled this up. It grew right out of the ground. Roots they love trellising. So you can grow this stuff on your own at home. And that's the spirit of the Wild Doc, is I want to give people, the opportunity to not just buy expensive fish from other people, but actually be able to fish for themselves. What I mean by that is the spirit of the Wild Doc is, here's the plant. We're going to talk a little bit about identification and finding it, those things, later shows. But today I wanted to talk about the medicinal uses of this plant for the purpose of opioid withdrawals. Why did I choose this shirt? It's simple. Jesus saves, bro. I was going through my shirts this morning before we came out here to the farm, and I'm literally thinking to myself, I came across this shirt and I'm like, that is perfect, because Passionflower was named by they were Christian missionaries coming to the United States, and they found this plant. And when they found it, they used the flower. The flower they used, and in fact the entire plant, they used as a teaching tool to teach others about the passion of Christ and his love and his passion for his children, every single one of us, every single one of you out there. He wants you to be healed. He wants you to be restored to a vibrant and full life potential. And that's what I want to show you, is this plant is part of God's, creation for us to live, thrive, be healthy, and overcome such things as anxiety, depression, insomnia, opioid addiction. God wants you to be freed from that. So let's go into this plant right here and its potential. So one of the fantastic things about this plant right here, the Passionflower, is the fact that it was effective against anxiety and insomnia, and even has a slight hypnotic or sedative effect. So it's fantastic because the side effects of other medications that would treat those symptoms, like benzodiazepines, so to use those types of drugs, you risk additional dependence or dependence on another drug. What's fantastic is other research studies have shown that this plant right here, Passionflower, to have anti-anxiety effects, treating the mental symptoms of opioid withdrawals without additional dependency risks or addictive risks. So to me, that's fantastic, because I don't want to see people have to go from one pharmaceutical dependency to another, and one addiction to another addiction. We don't want to trade addictions. We want full restoration and healing. So to clarify what this research showed, this research study took a group of individuals. They took a total of 65 opioid addicts, and that's specifically from it, opioid dependent individuals. So they took 65 individuals that were addicted to opioid drugs, and they were looking at the effectiveness of Passionflower plus clonidine. So clonidine, the problem with clonidine use only in the treatment of addiction to opioids is the fact that it only treats the physical symptoms. It doesn't help, and it's not effective for the mental symptoms. Primarily, they were talking about anxiety and insomnia. So because Passionflower has already been shown to be very, very effective against anxiety and insomnia, they took that information, they applied it to individuals addicted to opioids. What they find? They found that the placebo group, so the clonidine plus placebo, so saline solution or sugar solution, versus the Passionflower extract solution, so they did about 60 drops of Passionflower per day. So 60 drops of Passionflower extract per day with clonidine. So those two groups were compared. They found that similar effects, and actually there was a slight reduction, not statistically significant, on the reduction in physical symptoms with the Passionflower and clonidine. So they found it just as effective in both groups against the physical symptoms, slightly better with the Passionflower, but then significantly better for individuals for the mental symptoms like the anxiety and the insomnia. So that's phenomenal results, because we want to find ways to completely free people from this addiction. Now, I want to be completely open and honest with you all. I'm sure if you watched other videos of mine, you know I am very much against the pharmaceutical industry because I see so much corruption going on in that industry and in that business. I just don't like it. So I want to help you guys see that we can use Passionflower for the treatment, and we have research that shows that Passionflower is effective against the mental symptoms of opioid addiction. Well, a lot of the symptoms that clonidine is used to treat: muscle pain, aches, muscle spasms, cramping of the digestive system diarrhea, and all that yucky stuff, but Passionflower has been found effective for many of the physical symptoms as well, but it just hasn't been put to the test. I would love to see clonidine alone versus Passionflower alone, and see if titrating people up in that dosage. Now again, Passionflower is a sedative, so if you're on hypertension medications, which Passionflower has been effective against hypertension. So if you're on hypertension medications, you got to understand that the coupled effect could lower your blood pressure too much. It is a slight sedative, so if you're on other sedatives, epilepsy medications, those types of things, you got to understand depression meds. You may need to wean off your depression meds. And that's my personal opinion. You got to use this information for your benefit and what is right for you, but I feel that if we can find natural alternatives, safer alternatives, and that's what the evidence really shows is that Passionflower is really, really safe. From newborn babies, even studies and things have been showing that pregnant patients and case studies and individuals using it for hypertension in pregnancy, they've been showing it effective for those purposes, safe for nursing. But the reality is you want to start with very, very low doses if you're going to use it during that time period. But helping people get away from opioid addiction, this stuff was phenomenal for the anxiety and the insomnia, the mental symptoms. I'd love to see it go forward with seeing if we could combine Passionflower with things like maybe opioid or opium lettuce, wild pain relieving lettuce. I've got another video out on that. Make sure you watch that. But if we could help people treat the pain and the other symptoms of opioid addiction with natural things, we could not only free them from that opioid addiction, but we could possibly free them from the entire pharmaceutical dependency. And that's my purpose in life, I feel. So again, this is an amazing plant. It's a viney plant. Quick overview of how to identify. It's going to be vines. They're going to have these tendrils. They're going to hang on to your fencing here. They also call it May pop because it'll pop when you step on it or burst it. That wasn't quite ripe. The fruit is edible. I haven't found a lot of information on the fruit. Is always medicinal. Fruit is good for you. It's like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So it wasn't an aspirin a day. Just got to throw that out there. But what you want to do, you hear that pop? You get food and medicine. Isn't that fantastic? So that's why they call it May pop. Because little kids, they step on them. Little kids. Who's kidding anybody? People like me. I love the pop sound. Anyways, so you got food, you got medicine. It's a viney plant. Most of the leaves are going to be about a hand size. They're going to have 3 lobes to them. There's going to be nectar bulbs basically right at the stem meeting the leaf. That's how they feed the ants, and the ants are the little bodyguards for this plant to protect it against caterpillars. It's a beautiful butterfly that comes from the caterpillars that feed primarily on the passionflower. So viney plant, you can grow it. It can be evergreen in warmer climates. Got some beautiful flowers, I believe probably the most beautiful flower that I have ever seen in nature. That's my personal opinion. But again, we're a little bit late in the season. You can see how the caterpillars and the bugs have really ate away at the leaves. The leaves are starting to turn a little bit of brown to yellow to them. So the energy is being pulled back out of the leaves, going back into the stems. The plant is preparing for winter. So a lot of the energy and nutrients are going to go back into the roots to save, to come up next year. Or a lot of that energy has gone into producing fruit. So once there's a lot of fruit on it, a lot of the energy and nutrients have been pushed into the fruit, which should serve some medicinal properties, but the medicinal uses have been studied in the use of the leaves primarily. So again, find a plant that hasn't yet produced a lot of fruit. Early spring, midsummer, later summer, later fall, a lot. You're still going to have some medicinal properties here, don't get me wrong, but you're going to have less concentration and quantity of those medicinal properties in the leaves later on in the fall when the plant is kind of going dormant or those leaves are dying off. Remember though, that you don't want to just go out there wimbly-nimbly like and just eating any type of plant out in nature. There's poison ivy right over here. Had to tell my cameraman, luckily I wore long pants today. I'm just glad he wore pants at all. Just kidding, it's weird. Don't know why my head went. Anyways, so get this. There are about 500 types of passionflower out there right now in the world. There's about 9 in North America. This one's native to North America. It's Passiflora incarnata. So that specific species of passionflower is the medicinal passionflower that I am talking about right now. So make sure that you know how to identify that one specifically and use only that one, because that's the one that's been used so far in the clinical studies the clinical study that I'm talking about here today. So amazing food, amazing medicinal herb, plant, wilderness remedy. Go out, get you some, find some for your friends. Share this video right now with the people who need to hear this type of information, because there are thousands, in fact, there are millions of people right now in the United States suffering, and probably across the world suffering with opioid addictions, and they need help, they need answers. And you know what? This type of information, don't hold it to yourself, because now that you've been given given information like this, it is now your purpose in life and your duty in life to go out and tell other people, because we need to have a passion to help other people overcome opioid addiction. Thanks for tuning in. Hey everybody, I'm the Wild Doc, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you hop on over to thewilddoc.com. Subscribe there for our newsletter and email campaign. Join in the conversation on Facebook. And let's transform the world by unleashing the power of natural healing.